Hi there, it's Kevin, live from lockdown on my Friday session yet again. Thank you very much for joining me. I want to start this week doing something that I forgot the last 2 weeks, and that is to acknowledge that this comes to you from land which is traditionally the territory of the Wendat and Anishinaabeg First Nations, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and more laterally the Mississaugas of the New Credit and the Métis Nation. And it's their land, and their eternal generosity is what makes it possible for the rest of us to live here. I'm inordinately grateful for that ongoing hospitality. I want to acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land and thank them, and I want to dedicate an hour of music to the spirit of justice and reconciliation with those people. Thanks for joining me. I think this is working. You know, it's always hard to get set up and see what's going on. On there, watch your comments. The funny thing is, in this new Facebook interface, my updates come through in the same place as your comments, and I might be missing you. Anyway, here I am in my ISO zone. If you've been following this, you may notice that clean shaven. I took off my ISO beard, and because at least I'm not living in this room anymore. I spend a lot of time in my studio, but happy to be out and be able to cook and clean for myself. So nice to be here. I started with a tune that I played last week or the week before, a Baroque piece by John Dowland called Lady Hammond's Almond, just a way to try to warm up. I'm going to play another tune. There'll be lots of talking. As you know, that's how it goes. I see a few people joining in. Thank you very much for saying hi and being with me. As I mentioned, some of you might be playing along, singing along at home. Please join me if you can. I'm going to do a standard by Jerome Kern called All the Things You Are, and I'm going to do that in the book key, which is F minor or A flat major, depending on how you think about it. But Jerome wrote it in 4/4. I'm going to play it in 3. Play along if you can. All the things you are. There you go. Thank you very much. Oh, look at that. A whole bunch of people saying hello. Thank you very much. Looks like a few people from a few different places. So nice to have you join me. Greatly appreciate it. You know, I announced this week I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing live from lockdown on Fridays at this particular time, depending on what time zone you happen to be in. I really find it provides a helpful discipline to my weekly practice, keep me thinking about what I'm going to play. Although, as is quite evident, I didn't really practice that tune this week. I'll try to work out the tunes I'm going to play before I get in too much trouble. Cheers. There are a bunch of people doing this, and I'm going to try to say hi to them. I heard a fantastic live stream yesterday from one of my favorite guitar players anywhere, Graham Stephen in Edinburgh, live from his place in Leith. Did a beautiful, beautiful stream. I'm pretty sure, like most of these, that's going to stay up live on his page and on the other ones I'll mention. So if you don't see them live, go check them out. Support them. Send some donations people's way. We're all trying to stay alive and figure out how to keep the music flowing in these crazy times. Graham Stephen did an absolutely spectacular set of music last night. If you know that crowd, the Edinburgh, Scotland music scene, you might know the fabulous Georgia Cecile and Fraser Urquhart, who just finished, I believe, a session. They were on about an hour before me. Really fantastic musicians in their own right, and a beautiful thing together, what they do. So a couple of shout outs to them. When I'm done, 5 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, my good friend Michelle Rumball is going to go live, and you can check her out. She's a great singer-songwriter that I have the privilege of playing with now and then when the times allow for people to play music together, and I encourage you to mosey on over to her page and say hello. So thanks to all those people in various parts of the world. Let me play another tune before I talk too much. Here's a bossa nova. I always like to play a couple of bossa novas. Here's a great standard one by Antonio Carlos Jobim called Corcovado. Didn't really practice this either this week. We'll see how it goes. I'm in the book key. I'm in A minor or C if you're playing along. I don't know if my good friend Henry Heilig gets his bass out today, but hope you can join me. I'll set up a bit of a vamp first so we can settle in. Corcovado, there you go. I got all kinds of stuff up over my screen. I can't tell if this is working. I'm going to delete some of these. I can't read your comments as I go. It's too much to concentrate on. I'm sorry. If it sounds terrible, put something in capital letters. Let me know. I'll tell you something funny. I'm going to tell you all a secret. I've been doing this a long time, playing guitar for people. That's pretty much what I do, what I've done all my life. I'm pretty used to going to gigs, performing for people, playing music, sharing that, having a good time. I don't usually get nervous when I go to work. I get really nervous about these things. This is a really weird thing to do. And to be serious about it for a second, I really think that we are exploring a whole new kind of performance medium. My very good friend Peter Sellers, who runs a fabulous bookshop here on College Street in Toronto, Sellers and Newell Books, great place if you're looking for a book or just to hang out, who also does a whole bunch of great live concerts in that space. I've had the privilege of playing there a bunch of times. Peter said, it's kind of like everyone watching is in the front row, but you can't see them. That's exactly what's going on for me. All you people, it's like you're in the front row in my bedroom or in my living room. This was my bedroom for 2 weeks. I'm happy to say I'm not sleeping. I had a mat right over there that I slept on for 2 weeks while I was in quarantine. Happily, I get to sleep down the hall in my own bed and cook my own meals now. But it's like you're right here, and I'm trying to talk to you, and I'm trying to share some music with you, and I don't know if you're listening, and you're right on my lap. It's kind of a weird thing. And a bunch of us are doing that. Again, a shout out to all those people who are doing their live streams. The quarantine sessions, the fabulous quarantine sessions, thanks to Laura Silverstone. Ruby Tuesday, Roscoe Galloway's Ruby Tuesdays. There's a bunch of great ones, and all of us are trying to figure this out. How do we keep doing what we do in this time when we got to stay locked down? So I really appreciate you hanging out with me, helping me try to figure that out. I've been getting so much great response, which is really lovely. Really helps feel some love. in a time when it's pretty damn lonely otherwise, you know? So anyway, there's my secret. I'm nervous. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I'm having a wee afternoon dram of some malt whiskey. The bar's open where you are. Enjoy. I always make my joke about that. If you're on the West Coast, I know it's early in the afternoon. It's coming up to 5 o'clock here in Toronto, well into the evening in the UK. So you do what you need to do. It's springtime. The sun is shining out there. It's a bit chilly in Toronto, but we've had some really nice weather, and time to play a spring song, I think. I want to say hello to my good friend Ted Quinlan, who's a fantastic guitar player from here in Toronto. Really, really great guitar player. He posted himself playing Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most earlier this week, and it was beautiful. One of my favorite tunes. I'm not going to play Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most, but I'm going to play a tune called Spring Dance, which is a composition by the fabulous Roddy Elias. Roddy is someone I've spoken about the last few times I've done this. Probably the most influential guitar teacher I ever had, and a really important guitarist and composer on the Canadian scene. This is an old tune of his that I learned back when I was a student of his a few decades ago. I'm going to give it a shot. It's kind of a long, involved piece. He told me once that it was kind of like a spring dance, like a wedding in a spring garden, where it starts out quite stately and beautiful, and as people drink and get a little more messy, it gets a little more complicated. So we'll have some loops in 5 and 7 before we're done. But spring dance. Hope you like it. Thanks to Roddy. There you go. Spring Dance, Roddy Elias. Thank you very much. Apologies to all of you. I didn't check my tuning before I did that one. It's a particularly bad one to play with a slightly out of tune guitar. All that exposed, those exposed open strings. Anyway, hope that didn't bug you too much. Thanks for listening. So I mentioned I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to do this every Friday for a while. I really hope that I don't have to do this every Friday for too long, because I really hope things are going to change and we're going to be able to get out and play music with each other again sometime soon. In the meantime, if you got requests, and I've said this a couple of times, I'm going to say it again. If you got requests, send them my way. Can't promise to learn a bunch of tunes. I'm happy to play what you like. I have received a few requests, and I'm going to play one now. I'm not supposed to mention her name, but my favorite singer from Scotland, Susanna MacDonald, sent me a request. She asked that I play something that she can sing along with, so I'm going to do that. I'll probably be in trouble for mentioning her name, but there you go. I went through the list of tunes that she and I played together, and I'm going to play another seasonal one. That was an in-season tune, Spring Dance. This is an out-of-season tune. I'm looking forward to the autumn, when we can all be out of our isolation zones and hanging out together. Let's hope for that. Let's hope for that before the autumn. This is called Autumn Leaves. Autumn Leaves. There you go. Johnny Mercer. I guess Johnny Mercer wrote the words to that, the English words to that. Les Feuilles Mortes, Francie, originally. A little standard. I don't know if any chance my good friend Max Wolliver is listening, but Max is an old friend who's signed up for some guitar lessons, and that's the first tune he wants to work on. So I've been trying to work on that. Speaking of which, I kind of blew the camera angle last week, and I tried to fix it so you could see me. A couple of guitar player friends of mine, I always try to watch my hands. But if you're watching my hands, then it's probably quite evident to you that there's no rocket science in what I'm doing. I'm doing my best to play some melodies and some harmonic accompaniment to those melodies, and to present that in some kind of a time grid that makes sense. It's really not very complicated. So unlike many things you see on the internet, kids, you can try this at home. You certainly can. If you're interested in taking some guitar lessons with me in this medium, please hit me up. I put some notes up on the side of the page there about a bunch of places you can support, and also mentioned at the bottom, if you're interested, I am doing some teaching in this medium from our zones, and I would love to meet you there. Like I say, it's not very complicated. You could be doing this yourself in a matter of weeks. So there's something to consider. On that subject, you will note that at the top, I'm asking you not to make donations yet again this week. A couple of weeks ago, I asked for some donations and I got overwhelmed by a bunch of really beautiful people sending support my way, which is really appreciated. Because let me tell you, it's hard to make a living doing this in the best of times. It's pretty much impossible now. But I got really well supported, and I'm encouraging you to send your, if you got some money, if you got an income and you can afford to support some organizations and some people, send it other places this week again. I'm also in the ironic position living in Canada where our government's got a fairly decent income support program that has just kicked in, but eligibility rests on me not making any money. So I'm going to take advantage of that program and not make any income doing this, send some art out into the world. But there are a bunch of places you can support. Some of those live streams I've mentioned, the quarantine sessions, Ruby Tuesdays, Michelle, Graham, Georgia, and Fraser, any of those people, they could use some support. So please hit them up and keep that in mind. Get in touch if you want to do some lessons. Let's do some of that. How are we doing for time? Yeah, we're okay. What shall I play? I know what I'm going to do. I got a special hello. I've been forgetting to say hello. I've been mentioning that I've been timing these sessions so that it's late afternoon here in Toronto, Montreal, New York, Eastern Daylight Time. And perhaps you, if you're working, you're at the end of your workday. Oh, it's not a workday today, is it, for most people? Good Friday. Hopefully you're joining me. It's early afternoon on the West Coast. It's evening in the UK. But I want to say hi to some West Coast people, especially to my fabulous mom, Pauline, my mother, who's been listening and sending me really great messages of support from her own lonely isolation zone. My mom's amazing. Those of you who might know her, this pandemic is hitting all of us hard. It's hitting her particularly hard because it's slowing her down more than most of us because she's busier than most of us most of the time. Amazing, amazing work that my mom keeps doing. I'm not going to betray how old she is, but I'm pretty old and she's a lot older than me, and doing amazing, amazing work with a group of grandmothers advocating for those living with HIV in Africa and lobbying our own local governments in Canada about making the world a more just place, and working in her neighborhood with people who are living on the street and got nowhere to go. My mom's amazing. I want to say a special hello to her. And thank you. Thanks for buying me my first guitar and continuing to support what I do. And for my mom and for my family on the West Coast, I'm going to do a special tune. I got a sister out there and a sister in Toronto. It's my sister in Toronto's birthday today. She's not on Facebook, so she's not listening, but maybe her partner Tanya's listening. But happy birthday, Ren. Hope you're having a great one. I know you're working. My sister Bronwyn and her family live on the West Coast and are doing a great job looking after my great mom. I want to say hello to all of them. On one of my albums, an album I've been playing tunes off over the last couple of weeks, an album called Share the Wealth, which you can get at Bandcamp. Check the link on the side. I did a tune called Ebb, which is a tune I wrote for Bronwyn and her partner Brendan when their son Ezra was born. It was coming up on 20 years ago. I think that young Ezra is going to turn 20 later this month, as a matter of fact. Ain't that an amazing thing? So Ezra and Bronwyn and Brendan, E-B-B, that spells Ebb, and that's the name of this tune. There you go. There's Ebb by me, and dedicated to my nephew Ezra and his fabulous parents, his dad Brendan and my great sister Bronwyn. On the west coast of Canada in Vancouver, where it's, I don't know, coming up on 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So 1:45, 4:45 here. Cheers. I got time for a few more tunes. Again, thank you for all those comments, which I will read later. I always take a break after I do this, and sometimes I watch again just to see all the lovely comments coming through. I really appreciate you people listening, taking some time out of your day. I hope you're doing okay in your own isolation zones. Man, oh man, tough times these days. What shall I play? Here's something else in 3, a little more up. Here's a tune by Toots Thielemans, Belgian, I think, originally. Fantastic chromatic harmonica player who also was a really good guitar player. And this is a tune called Bluesette. There you go, Bluesette. Thank you very much. I may have to put some new strings on before I do this next week, but I will be back next week, and Fridays after that for the foreseeable future, much as I hope not to be. What shall I play? I'm going to do a couple more tunes. Call this a day. Here's another tune of mine off that same album. This is a tune called Southeast. It's hard to play solo. Let's see how it goes. There you go. That's a tune called Southeast that I wrote on my album Share the Wealth, which you can order at Bandcamp on your page there, or iTunes, any of those kind of places. I think I got time for a bit of a message and another tune, and time to call it another Friday. So I mentioned I'm going to keep doing this, and that I'm really enjoying doing this. I'm loving the feedback. I'm loving the discipline. I'm trying to get ready each week and work on some new tunes. Here's the thing I'm hating about doing this. I'm hating that it seems to me I'm developing a bit of a pattern of needing to learn a new tune each week to say thank you to someone else who died from this wretched virus. So last week, I spent an hour or two before I played listening to and learning Lean On Me to say thanks to, say thanks for that and say goodbye to yet another one of the fantastic musicians that we've lost. There's just too many people. This week we said goodbye to John Prine. And I'm going to close with a tune of John Prine's. What a fantastic songwriter. What a tragic loss to COVID-19. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more before we're done. And it's breaking my heart. So I spent a bit of time trying to learn a tune of John Prine's to say thank you. And I'm going to close with that in just a minute. And I hate the fact that there's probably going to be more dedications like that before this is over. But a message of love for all of you before we go. And here's what I'm thinking about this week. I'm thinking about the way that we talk about this dangerous, crazy, difficult, awful crisis that we're facing. And there are a couple of phrases that have been circulating that I'm concerned about. In fact, there's a couple of phrases that have been circulating that I don't want to hear anymore. I want us to think carefully about. One of them is this: the virus doesn't discriminate. That's a lie. It's a lie to say the virus doesn't discriminate. The virus, COVID-19, like everything else, discriminates quite profoundly. We know that the people who are already at the bottom of the economic ladder get hit harder by these things all the time. We know that the people who have managed to accrue a whole bunch of privilege in their life are invariably going to do better. Some people are still going to get sick, and some people are going to die, but it's going to hit those people who are already hurting a whole lot harder. I was told this week that there's an estimate that 40% of the homeless population of the city of Toronto is going to die as a result of the coronavirus. 40%. That's discrimination. We were told that 40% of lawyers were going to get hit by COVID-19, 40% of accountants, or 40% of white men in their 50s. Can you imagine the outcry? Imagine the calls of discrimination. That's what's going on, folks. Let's not say that. Let's not say that the virus doesn't discriminate. Let's remember that it does, and that while we all need to look after each other, we especially need to look after the people who are having a harder time. So let's not say that anymore. The other thing that people are talking about is, when are we going to go back to normal? Normal is what got us here, ladies and gentlemen. You can't go back to normal. You can't go back to normal. Normal is the world that created those systems of discrimination and oppression that I was just talking about. Normal is the world where we get in jet planes and fly over the world and carry a disease from somewhere all the way around the planet, everywhere, in a matter of seconds. Normal is a world that doesn't distribute its resources, so some people have way, way too much, and some people don't have enough, and that's what we've got to put it into. I've been saying this every week. There's never been a better time for us to be fighting for a basic universal income for all people. I'm really, really lucky to live in Canada, and one of the things I will say positively about my government's response is that there's a pretty good income support program which launched this week to make it possible for those of us who have lost all our work to have some income. But let us not forget for a moment that puts a lie to the notion that the money's not there. The money's there. My government's doing that because they know that every cent that they send to me is going to go straight back into my neighborhood. I'm going to go up the street to the vegetable store and buy some vegetables to come down back home and cook a meal. I'm going to pay my bills in my neighborhood. I'm going to pay I'm going to pay for the services and the goods that I need right here in my neighborhood. That money's going to go straight back into the economy. And that's what would happen. Now is the time for us to be demanding that, so that when we pull out of this situation, we go back to a new kind of normal where we create a world that looks after each other. Let's not go back to normal. Let's create a better normal for all of us. I love you. I miss you. I will see you soon. With dedication to John Prine this week, this is Angel from Montgomery. Thanks. See you next week.